16. Sonia McNight. In Pennsylvania, Magistrate Judge 57-year-old Sonia M. McNight has been charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault after allegedly shooting her estranged boyfriend, 54-year-old Michael McCoy, while he slept in his Harrisburg area home. This incident occurred on Saturday, February 10, 2024. According to police records, McCoy had repeatedly asked McNight to move out following the end of their one-year relationship. On the evening of February 9th, McCoy returned home to find McNight still present in pajamas. He then told her that he planned to ask her mother for help in getting her to leave the house. McCoy retired to bed at around 11 p.m. and later awoke in excruciating pain with impaired vision. McNight allegedly responded by asking McCoy what he had done to himself. Police investigations revealed that McCoy had suffered a gunshot wound to his right temple, which exited his left temple. McNight subsequently called 911, claiming to have been asleep at the time of the incident and only awaking to McCoy's screams. However, surveillance footage from neighboring residences contradicted her account by showing McNight leaving the house that evening. The firearm used in the shooting was registered to McNight, and both parties insisted that no one else was present during the incident. This is not the first time McNight has been involved in a shooting. In 2019, she shot her ex-husband Enoch McNight during a domestic dispute over alleged infidelity, but she was later acquitted of wrongdoing in that case. Prior to these incidents, McNight faced legal trouble when she was suspended without pay in November of 2023 by the Court of Judicial Discipline due to misconduct allegations. The Judicial Conduct Board, which is responsible for investigating and prosecuting misconduct among Pennsylvania judges, accused McNight of various violations. The infractions included improperly allocating vacation time to court staff, disregarding a civil complaint against her, and using a Facebook profile to endorse consumer products. As of the latest developments, McNight remains incarcerated with a bail set at $300,000. McCoy sustained permanent blindness in his right eye due to the gunshot wound, but miraculously, he escaped the ordeal with his life. 15. Tracy Sostrom. Judge Tracy Sostrom, formerly of the Lincoln County District in Oklahoma, resigned in 2024 following an investigation into her conduct during a murder trial. The trial involved Christian Tyler Martzall, who was accused of fatally beating a 2-year-old in 2018. Martzall was ultimately convicted of second-degree manslaughter. During this trial, Judge Sostrom was observed engaging in inappropriate behavior. She was caught sending over 500 texts and browsing Facebook while critical proceedings were underway, like jury selection, opening statements, and testimony. The case was emotionally charged as it involved the tragic death of a child who was found with severe injuries, including broken bones. The child's mother, Judith Danker, testified during the trial in 2019. But despite her emotional testimony, Judge Sostrom was seen scrolling on her phone, appearing distracted and disengaged from the proceedings. This behavior was part of a larger pattern that came to light when a petition was filed in October 2023. The petition detailed that text messages exchanged by Sostrom that mocked individuals involved in the trial, including attorneys, jurors, and witnesses. The petition alleged that Judge Sostrom displayed favoritism towards the defendant, even going so far as to compliment the defense attorney. This bias was reflected in her conduct within the courtroom, as evidenced by her text conversations with the bailiff. In the conversations, they criticized the appearance of the district attorney and made inappropriate remarks about the participants in the trial. These revelations led to the accusations of gross neglect of duty and partiality in office against Judge Sostrom. She initially intended to contest these allegations, but she ultimately decided to resign. She acknowledged her human fallibility and the challenges she faced in upholding the law impartially. In her resignation statement, Sostrom emphasized her commitment to applying the law equally to all parties, but recognized her shortcomings. She stated that her skills and beliefs were more suited to advocacy rather than the role of a judge, signaling her intention to pursue other avenues in the legal profession. As a result of this controversy, Judge Sostrom agreed not to seek another judicial position in Oklahoma, effectively ending her career as a judge in the state. 14. Seal Hancock. In March 2023, Judge Seal Hancock of Yavapai County, Arizona, was arrested for suspicion of extreme DUI after a member of the public alerted Prescott police about a possibly impaired driver. The incident occurred while Hancock was parked outside a Safeway supermarket in Prescott before driving away, leading to her subsequent arrest. During the arrest, Hancock displayed signs of alcohol consumption and failed several sobriety tests administered by police officers. Body camera footage captured Hancock initially denying drinking before admitting to consuming a couple of glasses of wine a few hours earlier. She expressed regret, mentioning her role as a judge and stating, "I'm just a person like anyone else." The results of 3 breathalyzer tests revealed Hancock's blood alcohol concentration to be 0.158%, 0.219%, and 0.214%, all of which is significantly above Arizona's DUI threshold of 0.08% for drivers. Despite her elevated blood alcohol level, Hancock referenced her position as a judge while interacting with the officers. However, she ultimately indicated a desire not to use her authority to influence the situation, which was probably a good call. She was convicted for misdemeanor DUI in May of 2023, which included a day in jail and a $1,650 fine. Hancock also agreed to relinquish her judicial role permanently as part of her punishment. The Arizona Supreme Court endorsed this stipulated resolution because it ensures a swift and definitive resolution to the matter while upholding public safety and judicial integrity. Hancock, who had been licensed to practice law in Arizona since 1996 and first elected to the Yavapai County branch in 2010, will not be eligible to serve as a judge again in the state of Arizona due to this resolution. Additionally, the state agency's investigation into further disciplinary action against Hancock has been terminated. This decision was made in light of her agreed-upon punishment and resignation from the judiciary. 13. Gregory J Rice. The California Commission of Judicial Performance recently filed formal proceedings against Humboldt County Judge Gregory J Rice, following accusations of misconduct and inappropriate behavior. The complaint was announced in February 2024 and outlines 19 counts of misconduct. The allegations include misconduct, anti-Semitic remarks, drug use, and ethics violations, which are said to bring notoriety to the judicial office. Judge Rice was appointed to the bench in 2017 by former Governor Jerry Brown, having previously served as a supervising attorney in the County Public Defender's Office. Currently seeking re-election, Rice has denied the allegations, describing them as outright lies on his campaign website. The complaint details disturbing incidents spanning several years. Among these, Rice is accused of repeatedly calling a colleague Jew boy and pushing him off a moving boat during a 2019 campout. He also allegedly engaged in inappropriate behavior by performing a suggestive act akin to a lap dance on a colleague's wife while she held her child. Further allegations suggest an intimate relationship between Rice and the court's family law facilitator, leading to the dismissal of a courtroom clerk who raised suspicions about the affair. Other troubling incidents include claims of inappropriate touching at parties and failing to rescue himself from cases involving acquaintances without disclosing those relationships. Rice has faced legal action previously, including lawsuits from colleagues over his conduct. The judge insists that the timing of the complaint is aimed at influencing his re-election campaign and expresses confidence that the allegations will be dismissed. The complaint filed by the state agency points out a repeated pattern of behavior that doesn't meet the expected standards for how judges should act. The formal proceedings will investigate these allegations further to determine if Rice's actions warrant disciplinary measures. 12. John Murphy. The Florida Supreme Court's decision to remove Judge John Murphy from the bench stemmed from a troubling incident that occurred on June 2, 2014, during a courtroom proceeding in Brevard County. Judge Murphy's behavior towards Assistant Public Defender Andrew Weinstock during this session was characterized by profanity and threats of violence, reflecting a concerning lack of self-control and professionalism. The altercation began when Judge Murphy became visibly frustrated with Weinstock's refusal to address client matters during the court session. In response, Judge Murphy used inappropriate language, stating that he would throw a rock at Weinstock and challenging him to a physical confrontation outside the courtroom. This verbal altercation quickly escalated into a physical scuffle in the hallway, although there was no visual documentation of the actual altercation. Following the argument and subsequent brawl, Judge Murphy returned to the courtroom and continued with legal proceedings without legal representation for the defendants. He left those present in the courtroom stunned and concerned about the conduct they had just witnessed. The severity of Judge Murphy's behavior prompted the Judicial Qualifications Commission to recommend sanctions. These sanctions included a public reprimand, suspension without pay for 120 days, a substantial fine, and mandatory participation in a mental health therapy program. However, the Florida Supreme Court rejected these recommendations, opting instead to remove Judge Murphy from office due to the gravity of his actions. In his defense, Judge Murphy cited frustration with Weinstock's conduct and asserted that his actions were defensive responses to perceived disrespect. He also highlighted his military service and subsequent diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as factors contributing to his behavior. Despite efforts to address his conduct through therapy and apologies to those affected, including Weinstock and members of the legal community, the court deemed his actions incompatible with the standards of judicial conduct. This was considered detrimental to public trust in the judiciary. The court also took into consideration that the Department of Veterans Affairs found that he was determined to have a 30% disability rating due to PTSD resulting from his deployment to Afghanistan. However, this finding did not mitigate the seriousness of Judge Murphy's conduct or alleviate concerns about his ability to serve as a judge. 11. Sher Harrison. Bailey County Judge Sher Harrison faced serious allegations and legal repercussions following her arrest, as revealed by documents obtained by everythinglubbock.com. The details surrounding her arrest shed light on concerning behavior and misconduct during a Muleshoe Little League baseball game on May 13, 2022. Her behavior led her to receive charges of official oppression. According to the documents, Judge Harrison attended the baseball game and entered the dugout area to assist players by picking up bats. However, she lacked the required certification to be around the players and was asked multiple times to leave. Witnesses reported that Judge Harrison appeared visibly intoxicated. She was exhibiting clear signs such as stumbling, slurred speech, and physical pushing of players onto the field. Allegedly, one child was injured after she shoved him. When confronted by a Little League board member who asked her to leave, Judge Harrison invoked her position as county judge and threatened the individual. Harrison stated that the board member's significant other would face jail time if she was not respected. Subsequently, Judge Harrison was criminally trespassed from the baseball fields, but she violated this order shortly thereafter. Further allegations surfaced regarding Judge Harrison's conduct, including providing alcohol to a 17-year-old on multiple occasions. The teenager reported frequent interactions with Judge Harrison and stated that he consumed alcohol regularly at her home. The petition to remove Judge Harrison from office revealed a pattern of habitual drunkenness, both on and off duty. Witnesses, including law enforcement officers, attested to instances where Judge Harrison appeared intoxicated while performing official duties, like signing warrants. These incidents tarnished the reputation of Bailey County, with reports labeling it as the county with a drunk judge. Judge Harrison's arrest on official oppression charges resulted in her being booked into jail with bonds totaling $1,500. Despite these legal proceedings and the severity of the allegations, Judge Harrison remained listed as a county judge on the Bailey County website until her term ended in January of 2023. 10. Jeffrey Ferguson. Orange County Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Ferguson was accused of fatally shooting his wife, Cheryl Ferguson, on August 3, 2023. An argument allegedly broke out between the couple at a restaurant and escalated at their Anaheim Hills residence in Southern California. Prosecutors disclosed that Ferguson texted his court clerk and bailiff following the incident, confessing to the shooting and expressing remorse. His message said, "I just lost it. I just shot my wife. I won't be in tomorrow. I will be in custody. I'm so sorry." Authorities investigating the case executed a search of Ferguson's home and uncovered a cache of firearms, including the pistol used in the shooting. They also found an extensive amount of ammunition. In total, the disgraced judge had 47 weapons and over 26,000 rounds. Although these weapons were legally owned, prosecutors explained that a rifle registered in Ferguson's name remains unaccounted for. The events leading to the fatal shooting allegedly began with a heated argument at a restaurant, during which Ferguson made a threatening hand gesture towards his wife. Upon returning home, Cheryl Ferguson challenged him by daring him to use a real gun. This prompted Ferguson to draw a pistol from his ankle holster and shoot her in the chest. Their adult son contacted 911 to report the incident, citing his father's intoxicated state. Ferguson himself also called emergency services, but was evasive when questioned about the shooting. Upon police arrival, Ferguson displayed signs of alcohol consumption and expressed disbelief at his actions, stating, "Oh man, I can't believe I did this." Following his arrest and subsequent release on $1 million bail, Ferguson was formally charged with murder and faces additional weapons-related enhancements. Prosecutors are seeking stringent bail conditions, including surrendering his passport, wearing an ankle monitor, and abstaining from alcohol and firearms. Ferguson's attorneys issued a statement portraying the shooting as a tragic accident within the Ferguson family, denying any deliberate wrongdoing. Judge Jeffrey Ferguson, who was 72 at the time of the incident, has served on the bench since 2015, presiding over criminal cases in Fullerton, Orange County. Prior to his judicial career, Ferguson held prominent positions in the Orange County District Attorney's Office. While serving in those positions, he received accolades for his work on narcotics cases and served as president of the North Orange County Bar Association. Meanwhile, Cheryl Ferguson had a career spanning work in the probation departments of Santa Barbara and Orange County. She then spent nearly 2 decades with American Fund Service Company before transitioning to being a full-time mother. She was actively involved in her son's Boy Scout activities, garnering respect and fond memories from the community. The tragic incident has left many shocked, with Ferguson's legal team maintaining that it was an accidental outcome in the midst of a family tragedy. The case continues to unfold as prosecutors seek justice amid the devastating loss and legal proceedings. 9. Patricia Martin. Former Cook County Judge Patricia Martin has been indicted on 7 felony charges, including theft, financial exploitation of an elderly person, money laundering, and financial institution fraud. The indictment, which was issued on November 9, 2023, alleges that Martin stole nearly $250,000 from her uncle, Oscar Wilkinson, a former Tuskegee Airman, between December 2020 and October 2022. She's accused of transferring money from her uncle's bank accounts to other accounts to cover up thefts and using the funds for cryptocurrency investments in her own name. Patricia Martin had been disbarred by the Illinois Supreme Court in September 2022 due to previous admitted misconduct. She had practiced law in Illinois since 1986 and spent 24 years as a judge, retiring as Cook County's top juvenile court judge in 2020. The Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission stated that Martin used over $240,000 of her uncle's funds without authorization. She also made false statements to his power of attorney about his account balances and failed to comply with document requests from the commission. Her uncle, Oscar Wilkinson, sued Martin 5 months before his death, accusing her of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars and converting it into cryptocurrency under her control. A judge ordered Martin to pay $1.1 million to Wilkinson's estate due to her unresponsiveness to court orders and failure to appear in court. In response to the lawsuit, Martin admitted to misconduct, acknowledging that the evidence clearly established her wrongdoing. Despite this admission, though, Martin argued against paying the $1.1 million to her uncle's estate, citing his death as suspending the court's jurisdiction over the matter. Then, in July 2023, Martin faced criminal contempt of court charges for violating court orders related to her uncle's funds. Prosecutors alleged that Martin continued to move funds against court orders, transferring money to Bitcoin despite legal restrictions. Martin appeared in court in November 2023 for theft and money laundering charges and was due back in court on December 20th. She was allowed to remain free pending trial, but the outcome of the case is unclear. 8. Thomas Carruth. 64-year-old Thomas Carruth, a former district court judge from Arkansas, was arrested by FBI agents in Little Rock in January 2023. He was apprehended on charges related to soliciting from a defendant's girlfriend in exchange for expediting the defendant's trial. Court documents allege that Carruth, an elected judge in Monroe County District Court, sought from a woman in April of 2022 to hasten her boyfriend's trial proceedings. Afterward, when questioned by FBI agents, Carruth reportedly lied about the incident. The charges against Carruth include 3 counts of honest services wire fraud, 3 counts of using interstate commerce for unlawful activity, and 1 count of bribery. He's also been charged with 1 count of making false statements and 1 count of obstruction of justice. The Department of Justice highlighted that if convicted, Carruth could face up to 20 years in prison on top of the charges. In June 2022, Carruth's residence was raided by the FBI, as confirmed by the Arkansas Judicial Discipline and Disability Commission. Following this incident, Carruth resigned from his part-time judicial position in August to pursue another public office. The commission is now conducting its own investigation into complaints related to the FBI's probe. In a subsequent interview with KARK-TV after the raid on his home, Carruth claimed to be a victim of blackmail. He asserted that a woman had made a false accusation against him in an attempt to secure her boyfriend's release from jail. Carruth stated that he promptly contacted the Arkansas State Police and the FBI to report the blackmail attempt. The woman involved, referred to as Jane Doe in a complaint, alleged that Carruth met with her and proposed freeing her incarcerated boyfriend in exchange for favors, which she declined. Doe subsequently filed a defamation lawsuit against Carruth in late August. The case is ongoing. 7. Gregory A. Lock. Gregory A. Lock, a former 33-year-old administrative law judge from New York City, was discovered to have a side career as a performer on platforms like OnlyFans and Just4.fans. Lock charged $12 per month on OnlyFans and $9.99 on Just4.fans, showcasing over 100 posts since starting his account in November 2020. Lock's behavior extended to social media, where he openly identified as a judge and made controversial remarks. For example, he tweeted derogatory comments about New York City Mayor Eric Adams and City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino. Palladino criticized Lock's conduct, stating that such behavior eroded trust in the city's judicial institutions. According to city rules, administrative law judges like Lock are expected to conduct themselves in a manner that upholds impartiality and preserves the dignity of their position. Lock's dismissal from his administrative role followed an official complaint lodged by Palladino over one of his Twitter comments. The finance department terminated Lock for unprofessional behavior in May 2023, unaware of his adult content endeavors. Despite reported attempts, Lock did not respond to requests for comment from The Post, likely to avoid making things even worse for himself. 6. Jack Robison. In January 2018, Comal County Judge Jack Robison stirred controversy during the trial of Gloria Romero Perez, who faced serious charges of sex trafficking. After the jury reached a guilty verdict, Judge Robison shocked everyone. He urged the jurors to continue deliberating, expressing his conviction that a guilty verdict would result in a miscarriage of justice. Despite Judge Robinson's intervention, the jury ultimately found Perez guilty of sex trafficking and sentenced her to 25 years in prison. However, this outcome was later challenged, leading to the declaration of a mistrial in October 2018. This was due to concerns over Judge Robinson's handling of the case. 6 days after the trial, Judge Robison took the unusual step of reporting himself to the Texas Commission on Judicial Conduct. He explained that his actions were influenced by extreme personal stress and health issues. He claimed that he was undergoing treatment for a severe medical condition and was coping with the recent death of a close friend just before the trial began. He indicated that he experienced what he believed to be delirium brought on by these stressors and medical treatments. Following Judge Robison's self-report, the commission received a total of 18 complaints regarding his behavior during the trial. These complaints included concerns raised by the Comal County District Attorney's Office, jurors who were part of the trial, and members of the public who became aware of the incident through media coverage. In a hearing before the commission in February 2019, Judge Robison admitted that his conduct was inappropriate. He acknowledged that it was completely out of character for him, given his long career in the judiciary. The commission deliberated on the matter and ultimately decided to issue a public warning to Judge Robison. This action was aimed at assisting him in the ongoing judicial service, while also seeking to maintain public confidence in the integrity of the judicial system. 5. Andrew Wilkinson. The community of Hagerstown, Maryland was shaken by the tragic murder of State Judge Andrew Wilkinson at his home in October 2023. The incident sparked a significant law enforcement response, including a massive manhunt led by the U.S. Marshals to locate the suspect, 49-year-old Pedro Argote. Authorities believed that Argote targeted the judge out of anger over a court ruling. This prompted the U.S. Marshals to offer a $10,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. Following extensive efforts to apprehend Argote, officials announced a somber development. Argote was found deceased during a search in a heavily wooded area in Williamsport, which is located just a mile, 1.6 kilometers from where his car was discovered the week before. Despite this discovery, details surrounding Argote's cause of death remain undisclosed. The circumstances of Judge Wilkinson's murder highlight the dangers faced by judicial officials and underscore the emotional impact of courtroom decisions on individuals. Wilkinson's untimely death has left a void in the community, where he was esteemed for his commitment to justice and service to his family. The loss of Judge Wilkinson also sheds light on broader issues surrounding threats and attacks against judges across the nation. Over 1,300 threats were investigated against federal court personnel in the fiscal year 2022. The legal community continues to prioritize the safety and security of judicial officials as they carry out their critical roles. As investigations into this tragic incident unfold, the community remains united in support of Judge Wilkinson's family and colleagues, honoring his memory and contributions to the justice system. The news of Pedro Argote's demise amid the pursuit of justice brings a sense of closure, although unanswered questions persist regarding the circumstances surrounding his passing. 4. Vivien POA. In December 2022, Colombian judge Vivien POA made a bold return to social media, despite her earlier suspension from judicial duties due to a controversial virtual court appearance. Known for her racy Instagram posts, POA posted new fiery snaps with the caption, "Me extrañaron?" which means, "Did they miss me?" in English. She seemed relatively unfazed by the repercussions of her previous actions. POA's provocative Instagram photos garnered immediate attention from her followers, who flooded her post with comments expressing admiration and support. Some fans jokingly referenced her suspension and online hearing, showcasing the continued interest in her online presence. The judge's suspension stemmed from a viral incident during a Zoom hearing in November 2022, where she appeared to be smoking a cigarette in what looked like her underwear, lying in bed. This behavior led to a disciplinary ruling, which found POA in violation of administrative regulations. She was then deemed unfit to perform judicial duties for 3 months until February 2023. The disciplinary panel's detailed ruling emphasized that such conduct was inappropriate for a judge, lacking the necessary respect and professionalism expected in judicial proceedings. POA's behavior during the hearing, including her appearance and demeanor, was deemed unacceptable and contrary to the standards of the judicial system. POA defended herself against the disciplinary measures, denying that she was in her underwear during the hearing. She attributed her behavior to an anxiety attack and low blood pressure caused by working such long hours. She also alleged mistreatment by other judges regarding her attire. This was not the first time POA faced scrutiny for her provocative online presence. Her Instagram posts, often featuring revealing outfits, earned her the nickname Versatile Judge. The inappropriate posts drew both positive attention from fans and negative reactions, including death threats from gang members. Despite the controversy surrounding her, POA remained defiant, asserting her right to express herself through her appearance and online activity. She argued that her social media presence brought promotional opportunities and discounts from fashion companies. She framed her actions as a response to societal pressures and industry expectations. It's unclear if she received any further punishment regarding her conduct. As of April 2024, she still appears to be employed as a judge in Colombia. 3. William T. Marshall. In the past, retired Scioto County Common Pleas Court Judge William T. Marshall faced significant scrutiny after his family raised concerns about his conduct, prompting potential ramifications for cases he presided over. The revelations emerged as part of an investigation by the Inquirer in March 2019, casting a shadow over his tenure and credibility. During this period, Marshall's family initiated legal proceedings to establish guardianship over him, citing concerns about his competence and well-being. Allegations surfaced that Marshall had exhibited signs of intoxication while on the bench and faced severe financial troubles. His family asserted that without intervention, Marshall's health and stability were at risk due to potential relapse into alcoholism. The family's legal maneuvering created ripples within the legal community, with experts warning of potential legal challenges to cases overseen by Marshall. The gravity of the situation prompted discussions about the impact on cases that passed through his courtroom. This suggested a need for comprehensive reviews to assess the integrity of past judgments. Legal scholars like Michael Benza from Case Western University and Edwin Patterson from the Cincinnati Bar Association expressed concerns about the complexity of addressing potential appeals. They also acknowledged the challenge of restoring confidence in affected legal proceedings. Marshall's departure from the judiciary occurred abruptly in the previous year following a 16-year tenure, culminating in a suspension from practicing law for unrelated misconduct. This development occurred against the backdrop of accusations linking Marshall to a sex trafficking network in southern Ohio. This was an explosive revelation detailed in the Inquirer's investigation. Testimonies from multiple women implicated Marshall in this illicit operation, adding another layer of controversy to his already troubled legacy. Despite these allegations, Marshall vehemently denied any involvement beyond professional interactions with Mirren. However, his history of legal misconduct raised further questions about his judgment and ethics. He had previously been accused of improper intervention in his daughter's speeding ticket case. He also had friendships with convicted individuals in the past. The legal proceedings surrounding Marshall's guardianship stresses deep-seated concerns about his capacity to manage his affairs independently. Reports from court-appointed investigators underscored the severity of Marshall's alcohol abuse, prompting urgent calls for intervention to avert potential catastrophic outcomes. As Marshall's legal troubles continued, his family faced more difficulties, accusing him of mishandling finances by allowing a convicted felon access to his bank accounts. These revelations added complexity to an already contentious legal saga, illuminating Marshall's tumultuous post-judicial life. 2. Frank Aguilera. In February 2024, Harris County Criminal Court Judge Frank Aguilera, who presided over the 28th District Court, faced suspension. The State Commission on Judicial Conduct confirmed that Judge Aguilera's suspension was pending criminal matter. Under Rule 15A, the Commission may suspend a judge when indicted for felony offenses, misdemeanors involving official misconduct, or crimes of moral turpitude or depravity. The suspension followed formal charges by Galveston County authorities against Judge Aguilera for allegedly assaulting a family member during a New Year's Eve incident. According to a probable cause affidavit, Aguilera punched a woman multiple times in the face and then placed his foot on her neck following an argument. The 228th District Court was instrumental in handling prosecutions related to the Harding Street police raid, which is notorious for its fatal outcomes involving 2 residents and injuring several officers. District Attorney Kim Ogg reviewed the suspension as a positive step toward expediting legal proceedings against implicated police officers from the botched raid. Ogg reaffirmed her team's preparedness for trial against multiple defendants, including former Detective Gerald Goines, who's facing 2 murder charges. Ogg expressed optimism and emphasized the need to address pending motions swiftly to move toward trial. She stressed the community's right to know the truth and sought closure for all involved parties, including the victims' families. The case is ongoing. And now for number 1. But if you want to hear more bizarre and crazy stories, stay tuned after the video for some more content. 1. Perry Stout. Former Johnson County Sessions Court Judge Perry Stout and his wife, Pamela Stout, faced legal consequences following their arrests in early 2024. The arrest stemmed from a range of charges that were initially leveled against Stout. Those charges include money laundering, possession of a weapon during a dangerous felony, and conspiracy related to drug possession with intent to distribute. He also received an additional charge of maintaining a dwelling for narcotics use. In January 2024, Perry Stout entered guilty pleas to charges of money laundering and possessing marijuana with intent to distribute. During the court proceedings, Stout opted against a trial. Instead, he admitted to his involvement in a marijuana trafficking enterprise that operated from early 2022 until January 2024. He confessed to utilizing profits from this operation to fund his 2022 judge campaign, among other expenses. Assistant District Attorney Dennis Brooke cited Stout's cooperation in the illicit business. He noted Stout's admissions regarding investment in a marijuana business with a man identified as Gary Marshall extending back to 2022. Marshall's visitations to Stout at the courthouse during his tenure as a judge drew investigative attention, particularly due to the atypical association between a judge and a drug dealer. Brooks disclosed Stout's role in financing Marshall's activities, specifically in transporting marijuana and THC products from Michigan. Instead of accessing profits for personal use, Stout directed withdrawals toward campaign funding, ultimately contributing to his 2022 election expenses. Brooks emphasized the public impact, noting that billboards promoting Perry Stout's judge campaign were effectively financed, at least in part, by illicit proceedings. In response to the situation, Judge Lisa Rice expressed profound disappointment in Stout. She characterized Stout's actions as regrettable and inexplicable, given his prior legal career and judicial tenure. Despite Stout's prior intention to campaign for his former seat after resigning in June 2023, his plans were derailed by the unfolding legal proceedings. While Stout awaited sentencing in April 2024, Brooks indicated that the prosecution opposed any requests for probation, stressing the need to follow the legal rules and guidelines. In contrast, Pamela Stout, Perry Stout's wife, faced lesser involvement and possible considerations, including probation deals. Meanwhile, Gary Marshall, despite prior drug charges in Knoxville, remained uncharged in connection with the conspiracy involving Stout. The legal consequences affected more than just Stout himself. Because of what happened, Julie Center, who was temporarily filling in for Stout, decided to resign from her interim position.
9. Gavin Rush. In November 2022, a 41-year-old Texas attorney named Gavin Rush allegedly entered an Austin bar where his ex-girlfriend was working and pointed a gun at her after she refused to speak with him. 2 bystanders sprang into action and tackled the suspect to the ground. 3 shots were fired during the struggle, but thankfully nobody was hurt. One of the patrons who helped take the attorney down told local news station KVUE that Rush tried to shoot himself in the head during the encounter as well, but someone stopped him from actually pulling the trigger. Police rushed to the scene and took Rush into custody on suspicion of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He apparently hadn't left his ex alone since she broke up with him a month and a half earlier, and had even started threatening her and her new partners. Fearing for her safety, she cut off all communication, but this only made him more determined to speak with her. The incident initially made headlines right after Gavin's arrest, when he posted 10% of a $40,000 bond and walked away free. Footage of the terrifying situation circulated online, sparking outrage among civilians who thought Rush was dangerous and needed to be locked up behind bars. He had a previous assault and family charge from 5 years ago too, but it was dismissed when he completed anger management training. Gavin lost his job after the more recent gun incident. He was found dead inside his home just 4 days after his arrest. While authorities declined to give out a cause of death, they said no foul play was suspected. 8. Briana Christine Ionides. Australian attorney Briana Christine Ionides had an amazing life before things spiraled out of control. She was young, beautiful, and successful. That all changed in 2015 when police raided her Gold Coast home and saw guns, steroids, marijuana, ecstasy, meth, and more. Ionides was arrested again weeks later and another time in 2016. The court gave her an opportunity to clean her life up with a suspended sentence and ordered to go to rehab. But she violated bail conditions and was arrested yet again in 2017 for selling drugs and driving while high out of her mind on meth. Ionides later pleaded guilty to 21 charges, and the judge was less forgiving this time, sentencing her to 8.5 years in prison. Her law career is basically over, and instead of defending criminals, she now lives among them. 7. Haley Christine Sherman. Just 3 years after being admitted to the North Carolina State Bar in 2015, a criminal defense attorney named Haley Christine Sherman found herself in need of her own lawyer. Police raided the home she shared with her boyfriend James Brandon Farmer and seized a sizable amount of drugs and paraphernalia, including weed, Xanax, scales, and packaging materials. It seemed like the couple was running a serious operation. Farmer and Sherman each faced a laundry list of charges, including 2 counts of felony possession with intent to sell, 2 counts of felony delivery of marijuana, 2 counts of felony conspiracy to sell and deliver, and more. Sherman was suspended from the law practice she worked at. She pleaded guilty to 13 felonies and received a 6-month suspended prison sentence. The lawyer was ultimately disbarred. 6. Nicole Gaza. Jose Gaza was a veteran Los Angeles City prosecutor, and his wife, Nicole, was a divorce and family law attorney herself. The couple were relaxing together one night in 1996 when Nicole asked her husband to grab an ice cream bar from the freezer in their garage. As he entered, a masked figure in a dark hoodie came out of the shadows and fired a gun towards him. Jose managed to return fire and struck the intruder in the abdomen. The shooter was rushed to the hospital while investigators combed the crime scene for clues. They found no signs of forced entry. This was the first sign indicating the home invasion wasn't random. During questioning, Gaza was concerned mainly with making sure the police cleared him of any wrongdoing for shooting in self-defense. Nicole, on the other hand, seemed way too relaxed for someone whose husband was almost killed in their home. Investigators revealed that the shooter was Lynette LaFontaine Trujillo, Nicole's sister. When detectives brought up her name, Jose was surprised, but Nicole showed no curiosity at all about why they could be mentioning her sibling. Meanwhile, at the home, police found a torn-up note in Lynette's car promising her financial help, medical care, and plastic surgery if she would do just one favor and kill Jose. The note contained enough details to determine that it was written by Mrs. Gaza, and authorities finally charged her with attempted murder. When Lynette died from her injuries 2 weeks later, they tacked on an additional charge, holding Nicole responsible for the events leading up to the tragedy, even though she wasn't the actual shooter. She pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter and attempted murder and was sentenced to 15 years to life. She has since been paroled and lives in Arizona with her new husband, but has no contact with her adult children, who are completely uninterested in having any form of a relationship with her at all. 5. Matthew Muller. In a Vallejo, California home invasion that can only be described as weirder than fiction, Aaron Quinn and his girlfriend Denise Huskins woke up early one morning in 2015 to an intruder in their bedroom. The stranger tied the couple up at gunpoint, put blacked-out goggles over their eyes, and forced them to ingest a sleep-inducing liquid. He then put Denise in the trunk of his car and drove away, leaving Aaron behind with a strict set of rules to follow while waiting on instructions for the next steps of the strange crime. Aaron was told that if he followed the kidnapper's demands and paid a ransom, Denise would be returned unharmed within 48 hours. Believing the intruder had installed surveillance cameras, he was afraid to leave his house or call the police. But he mustered up the courage and went to the police station, where detectives wrote the story off as an elaborate cover-up for something he'd done to Denise himself. In the meantime, Denise woke up in a Lake Tahoe home. She was held captive for 2 days before her abductor dropped her off near her parents' house, hundreds of miles away from the abduction site. No ransom was paid, and when Denise turned up alive, police accused the couple of staging the kidnapping for fame. The traumatized pair remained under police scrutiny for months until a masked intruder was finally tied to the kidnapping. He was identified as Matthew Muller, an ex-Marine and former Harvard-educated immigration attorney who had lost his law license to practice earlier that year. In the months leading up to the kidnapping, Muller's mental health had spun wildly out of control. His criminal cases dragged on for years, encountering delays at least twice while he spent time in a state mental facility. In 2017, he was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison, and in 2022, he was given 30 years in the state of California. 4. Amy Zenor. The top prosecutor in Dickinson County, Iowa, faced a sudden career downturn in late 2022 when she showed up to work drunk. Amy Zenor's blood alcohol content reached levels well above the state's legal driving limit. She was charged with public intoxication and forced to resign from her position. Shortly after the woman's arrest, the Iowa Attorney Disciplinary Board took action in the state Supreme Court to suspend her law license, citing a disability that prevented her from being able to properly practice law. She gave her written consent to the move, which means she didn't want to fight it, and the court approved the suspension. By then, Zenor was already facing a handful of other issues related to her job, including a civil lawsuit from a former employee who accused Amy's office of discriminating against her gender and her status as a pregnant woman. The employee claimed to have witnessed Zenor's drinking on the job firsthand multiple times, including several instances where she supposedly found the prosecutor passed out on the floor in her office. Amy also allegedly had a tendency to make plea deals with defendants and forget about them later on. 3. William Grove. In November 2008, a BlackBerry phone, some jewelry, a few credit cards, and a set of car keys belonging to Nashville attorney William Grove were discovered in a random yard. Later that night, Grove's car was found parked near a boat ramp at Shelby Park, and his wallet, hat, and jacket were noticed along the Cumberland River. Grove's disappearance sparked an intense and expensive search, but the trail quickly went cold. The next lead came when police received a phone call from a man who claimed to be Grove's killer. A voice analysis determined the killer was Grove himself, and his family also confirmed that the voice sounded exactly like him. 2 months after he vanished, Grove checked into an Arizona psychiatric facility. He was arrested for attempting to defraud his insurance company and for faking his death. Prosecutors claimed Grove was motivated by a $2 million life insurance payout, but his defense team argued the man had simply spiraled into a deep depression. In court, Grove testified that he didn't tell anyone about his plan to disappear, including his wife. He bought some clothes and a tent at Goodwill and just left one day without a word. While away, he met numerous shady characters in the desert and said he mainly kept to himself. Grove pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 5 months of probation, with the opportunity to get the case expunged if he followed the conditions of his sentence, which also included taking medication. He was also ordered to perform 32 hours of community service every single month and to repay the cost of the $13,000 search that was conducted after his disappearance. 2. Eric Conn. For at least 13 years, starting in 2004, a Kentucky-based lawyer named Eric Conn conspired with multiple doctors and a Social Security Administration judge to get thousands of disability cases approved without going through the normal process of proving a patient's inability to work. Many of Conn's clients were legitimately disabled, and some were desperate to get their benefits approved, while others just knew him as the person to go to for a fraudulent claim. It was also no coincidence that Conn's office was in a historically impoverished area with an incredibly high unemployment rate. Many people there also suffer from health problems. His clients never ran dry, and in what became known as the biggest Social Security fraud of all time, Conn and his accomplices pushed $550 million worth of claims through. At one point, 2 Social Security employees caught on to the scam and told their superiors. But Conn and his accomplice within the administration managed to discredit them, and the employees were fired. The former SSA workers went to the media, where the story exploded, prompting investigations by several law enforcement agencies. Conn was arrested in 2016 and was put on house arrest while his case worked through court. In 2017, he cut the monitoring device off and fled to Honduras. During his absence, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison. 6 months after fleeing, Conn was captured and extradited back to the US to serve his time. He caught several more charges related to his escape and was sentenced to 15 extra years. Sadly, hundreds of Conn's clients lost their disability benefits and had no way to survive while they waited for another hearing to redetermine their eligibility. At least one person took their own life due to the financial stress put on him and his family. Clients' benefits were temporarily reinstated shortly after the man's death, but some people's cases are still in limbo today as they continue fighting for approval. In the end, Conn's fraud upended countless lives and wasted millions of taxpayer dollars on bogus claims for people who were completely capable of working. 1. Paul Bergen. New Jersey-based defense attorney Paul Bergen was popular among criminals, including celebrities, kingpins, soldiers who tortured detainees in Iraq, and other defendants accused of major atrocities. But, as it turned out, Bergen was no stranger to committing crimes himself. His first major arrest came in 2009, when he was accused and later convicted of running a prostitution ring out of New York City. Soon after that, Berren was charged with having an informant killed several years earlier to prevent them from testifying against one of his clients. He was also arrested for trying to hire a hitman for another case. Berren was also accused of using his law office as the unofficial headquarters of a crime syndicate that committed mortgage fraud and other financial crimes, landing him a serious racketeering charge. He was convicted of murder, drug trafficking, and more. He received 6 life sentences. Since then, Berren has filed numerous post-motion appeals, but his convictions and sentence have been upheld every time.
In your opinion, which judge from today's list is the worst of them all? Let us know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one. Bye.